Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Tarot with an Attitude and the Karmic Path. I am your host, the Reverend Rob Lee, with my co-hostess, Laura Van Tyne. Wow, what's happening, Miss Laura?
Man, it's been a busy week. It's
It
like, what?
has been a
Say
busy
what?
week. It has been. I'm going to put a little more light on here as we're
It
talking this
reminds me
about.
of that old Friends episode where Joey's like, Monday, 1 day, Tuesday, 2 day, Wednesday, what? Then
Yes,
he
we
goes,
have been that way
Thursday,
a lot
Thursday.
lately. Let me see what's going on here. Everybody's starting to come in. Miss Rebecca Gregory. I knew all I had to do was put past lives in the thing. This would be Miss Laura. Miss Rebecca Gregory, okay, is the other person that I told you about that I
Right.
would be. She and I have done some past life stuff.
Okay.
And man, she's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And I strongly, urge people to reach out to her if they need to. And y'all can look back the Caradwin priestess and all that stuff. She's in there. You can find her or whatnot. But how to get hold of Laura myself was also down in the thing. So Miss Becky, hello. Renee, good to see you. Glad you are here. Welcome. Leanne G. Lee, I know that name. Let's see what's happening. Donna, good evening. Reb and Gillian. Reb. Okay, I need to slow down. All right. And Gillian and Laura, yes. Let's see what's going on here. You're so kind. Becky, I love you. Well, Rebecca. I first started calling her Becky, and her name's Rebecca. And you know how I am about names. So let me formally introduce you to Rebecca, Laura Van Tyne. Laura Van Tyne, this is Rebecca.
Thank you. Nice to meet you all. And nice to have everybody here. But do you want to know what my theory on names are?
What's that?
And this goes back to when I taught middle school.
Okay.
First day of class, if I know your name right away, it's either really good or really bad, and the choice is yours.
That's very good. That's very good.
So, but it's nice to meet you, Rebecca.
Yep. Tootie, can't wait to. I don't know why I can't talk tonight. You just got me all messed up.
You got in that cup, sir?
What's that? Yeah, it's just coffee.
In that cup. Okay.
It's just coffee, and I only had one cup earlier today. So it's not. Maybe I'm on a caffeine. I haven't had enough.
That could
Who
be.
knows? What's that?
My secret juice is hot lemon water.
Ah,
I'm out of lemon, so I'm substituting lime, so I'm a little off.
Gillian does that. The hot lemon water. She firmly believes in it.
I love it.
Need to start. I need to get back on that and see what's going on.
Don't be wrong.
What's that?
I can drink a pot of coffee too. Don't get me wrong.
Oh yeah, no, that's my thing. And somebody talks to me about decaf. I'm like, then I'll just have a glass of water. Why bother? Why bother? All right, let's see who we got here. All right, Angeli, I love hot lemon water, so y'all know that name. Let's see what's going on. So, everybody, Laura and I talked last week, okay, about what'd she say? I replaced coffee for me for a long time. It replaced coffee for me. Yeah, it did. Yeah, it did. Unfortunately, I am a bad influence, and now she's drinking coffee again. So she was drinking the mushroom coffee, which she really liked, and I have a number of friends that do that too. They say it's better for you or whatnot. Again,
I like the bean.
We'll
I like the bean. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, love the beans. Love the beans. But we brought up past life regressions last week, okay? And we said we were going to talk about it. So I think we are going to talk about it tonight. And, so real quick, I want to ask you, and I had asked you on the break a little bit. We don't discuss a lot, folks, before, because we like to let things happen. Oh, I love the saying they use now, organically. We like to have things happen naturally. If I hear organic one more time, I think I'm going to throw up. Okay. But we like to let our conversations just unfold. And with the mention of past life regressions and past lives at all, the topic of Akashic records comes up a lot. Okay. And I noticed it's been coming up a lot over the past 3 or 4 years. So, Laura, your thoughts on Akashic records, what are they?
They do exist. What they are in a nutshell is they're the history. That's where the history of our soul gets stored, so to speak. So our souls are eternal. Christ says, life everlasting, not death everlasting. We don't turn into compost. But the soul energy keeps going. But the Akashic records is the history of our soul, lifetime after lifetime, and even in between our lifetimes. So yes, they do exist. And I was telling you that one of my concerns about them is that we have a lot of people who think they can take an online class in an hour, access these precious records. And folks, you got to vet out who you're working with, especially on a spiritual level. If you have children, you check out the various daycares and recommendations and references and this and that. You don't blindly hand your kid over to a stranger. Same thing with your soul energy. And so Akashic records are very sacred. When I work with people, not on a past life regression, but what I'll do is whatever is negatively impacting them, I utilize their Akka cords. Okay. An Akka cord comes from the Akashic records. These are those thin silvery blue lines that connect us to every person, place, or thing that we've had contact with. And I first saw the silvery blue cord. I would see it with my dad quite. Oh, look, I pierced the veil.
Yes, you pierced the veil.
But these silvery blue cords, they come from us and they attach. And so one example of how these Akka cords work that attach the Akashic records is how many of us have had a gross amount of like bad news, like the sudden death of somebody or a job loss or something happened. And when you get that news, or you feel it even before you get the news, you feel like nauseated. Something comes reeling back at you and you kind of want to low key want to vomit and you're feeling nauseated. What is that energy? That Akka cord was suddenly disconnected and it comes reeling back at us. And that's where that feeling comes from. And I think most people can have had those types of experience on some level. So when it comes to Akashic records, when you find the right person to do an Akashic reading, it's going to give you information to help you along your spiritual path. But no matter what you do, if you do get an Akashic reading, make sure whatever is being said rings true for you. And does it yes? Does it no? And then ask the why. Why does it ring true for me? Why does it not ring true for me? There's a lot of charlatans and shapeshifters in all dimensions. And your Akashic record reader may be pure of heart, may have the best of intentions, but they may not be skilled enough to understand that they're not talking to the ancient ones. They're talking to a shapeshifter, for example. Ask them, how do they know? And these are serious questions. And I don't want to make people paranoid, but all too often we hand our power over to others on a silver platter, and that's just dangerous.
I agree. And, I used to tell people that in counseling, whether it was spiritual counseling or addictions counseling or marriage counseling or whatnot, and because a counselor, if they seem to have or somebody leading you on an Akashic records journey, a past life regression, if they seem to have said, oh, I'm already picking up something, and they start leading you down a path, this should be major flares and everything going on. Mm-hmm. I had a past life experience, and I was fortunate enough, to have Rebecca Gregory there. It was not planned. She was not taking me through it, but I went through it very heavily, and I was very fortunate. One of the things that let me know how true Rebecca is about past life regressions on the Akashic records was the fact that she said almost nothing. Yeah. She was there as a guide if I needed catching, if something, to keep me calm, things like that. So, folks, one of the first things I would tell you, and I think you'll find out, whenever you're going to counseling of any type, but particularly if somebody's doing past life regression and they bring up hypnosis, we're going to talk about that too in a minute. You do not have to be hypnotized to go into past life. All right. Let that be. You just got to be in the right mindset and in the right place. So I think it's very important that you understand. Somebody goes, oh, I could do past life regressions. Oh, do one on me. Just like we're talking about when people, you're opening your soul up, you're opening your mind up, you're opening your body up. Okay. And you better be aware that when a door is open, shit can come in as much as it can go out. Okay. So it's very important that you guard that door and you be careful who you give the key to.
Absolutely. And chances, I don't know your story with Rebecca, but chances are your spiritual team set this up because there was information you needed to know to either get you back on track or to help you move faster, with more deliberate intention with whatever that experience was. And I've had a lot of spontaneous past life regressions, a lot. And I talk about them in my book, Teacher to Exorcist, by the way. There's one in particular where I found out that somebody who I thought was a friend wasn't a friend. I found out why.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, that was like, whoa. I am literally having this past life experience sitting in the acupuncturist room waiting for my husband to come out. And I'm just sitting there doing nothing, minding my own business. And then all of a sudden I relive this death and I see who killed me. And I was like, ooh, that's kind of spicy.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what I went through with Rebecca, and it's such a long story, and I can't go into it, but it involved my one of my boys, not all of my kids, just one who we knew who we had been connected. I knew he's kind of like, yeah, I don't believe that crap, but it was just being open to allow spirit to speak and allow visions to come and allow things to happen. And one of the things I want people, what I think that past life regression saw, because I did 2 lives within like 2 generations, if you understand what I'm trying to say,
Yeah.
in a special place. And it was, I think it was it the Mayan? Is that who am I saying it right, Rebecca, that, we were in Tulum. Okay. And I started putting my hands on things. And what was funny was what I really first opened up to feel was I went to put my hands on it, and this opened up. And all of a sudden I got, and this was on a home there, or a structure. Nobody knew exactly what it was. But I got the feeling somebody was pissed because people were letting their kids walk around on it, different things or whatnot. And I went, and I just backed up. Nothing had even started yet, and said, I mean no respect. I'm trying to learn. What I feel like there's something here. And all of a sudden, this whole freaking place came alive. All right.
Isn't that wild?
And a high priest comes out and is first telling me no. And as he saw my intentions and we spoke, he gave me a hand. And next thing you know, I'm getting a guided tour. And that was my father. Okay. Not my father in this life. Okay. But he had been my father in that life. And then it goes on and on and on and on. And I'm not going to do that. But it was nice. 2 things that happened to verify it. Okay. I had somebody else tell me, and I had talked to my son, that we were Indians in a previous life. They never said what kind of Indians. All right. And that we used to go out on, we were scouts. We would go out together and we were brothers. Okay. He was with another group. He wasn't even with us. And without me even saying anything, when we all met back up, he made his way over to me. He said, you're going to tell me we lived here at one time, didn't you? And I'm like, yep. And he goes, that's enough, and walked off. So you don't have to go into these deep. You have to be open. You have to have the right heart, pure heart, be set up. And you know what? Spirit, God, guides, the divine mother, whatever you want to call it. And I believe they all exist. Okay. They will give you the information you seek, and they will let you see it. You just got to be open to receiving it.
Well, and here's the other aspect of that is that should you have certain information, yes or no?
Right.
So we're only allowed to see the information that can be most helpful to us. And having said that, when I work with somebody, and I do use hypnosis, but I'm very judicious with it. So here's the deal with hypnosis, your higher self is in charge. I'm not going to make you walk like a duck and cluck like a chicken.
Exactly.
Okay, now, but having said that, you're still leaving a certain level of trust with your practitioner. Okay. And that's where you need to ask questions. So when I do a formal regression, usually, and I don't do it I don't do it because somebody wants they're like want to have fun. Okay.
Right.
They've got a problem to solve. They've got the same blockages or negative patterns or something happening over and over and over, and they're trying to figure out the why. Or sometimes it's a mysterious illness that, the doctors can't diagnose or anything like that. And yes, Rebecca is on the show.
Yes, she's in the gallery.
She might be on Reverend Rob's side, maybe.
Yes, she is. Yes, she is. But
I'll connect up, Tootie. We can connect up. You'll give me Rebecca's stuff if you don't mind.
Yeah, no, not at all.
So we have to understand that there's a process. And so when I'm working with somebody, first of all, I give them a questionnaire. One of the questions is, why do you want to do this? And then the next is, give me 20 questions that you want to have answers to. So what that does is it sets the intention. So their guides and my guides are now kind of working behind the scenes to kind of figure this out. And then when we do the regression, there are people who will feel like they're not fully under, and that's okay. And so some people feel like, oh, I wasn't fully under. And then all of a sudden, boom, they're fully under. And that happens too. And the other part of it is we go through and the light side will show us their higher self and subconscious self. The subconscious is the gatekeeper to our records in the Akashics. Our subconscious works with these teams to figure out what it is that you need to know. And as we do that, we usually get some interesting information, and it's not always on earthly information either. I've had it. Most of my regressions lately, actually for the past few years, seem to be extraterrestrial in nature. If you go to my Karmic Path YouTube, I've got the Sierra Files and gosh, I forget the other name of it. Her name is Holly, and their regressions were extraterrestrial in nature. They were like, the first time I was like, whoa, what? Huh? It's like, what do I do with this? And I quiz the heck out of these buggers, and I have the ability to remove them with the light side, because these dark entities don't need to be there. So anyways, those are there just to kind of, that's like extreme, but it explains a lot. Yeah. But then afterwards, if there's a medical issue, it's kind of wild, the healing that can take place during this, if the light side, the subconscious side, deems you don't need the illnesses anymore. Or if the illnesses are, I'm going to say, there's no rhyme or reason for the illness. The doctors can't figure it out. You're a medical mystery. Sometimes we can put things back into place. And sometimes, I had done one past life regression. This woman had this really bad ankle issue. Well, in a past life, she stepped into a bear trap. And it triggered about the same time age she was in that life as it was here. It was a muscle memory issue. Remove the muscle memory and her foot's fine. So we've got some kind of stuff like that. But then afterwards, after the past life regression, anybody seeking one, you need to spend time with that practitioner to go over the findings together, period. Never let that practitioner leave you hanging or feeling disturbed or uneasy. In about 2 weeks or so, I actually have I have a blog coming out on past life issues. When you do a past life regression, what are some of those issues? Because it's not all rainbows and lollipops and whatever. It's just not. Life's messy. So that's kind of the formal aspect of it. But there's a spontaneous and there's formal, but a big part of why we're here is to learn the different characters in the play. And you said in that one lifetime, that guy was your dad, but he's not your dad in this lifetime. Your son was maybe a brother. Your cousin could be your husband. There's all kinds of scenarios. And the reality is that we need to know how we act and react and can grow spiritually when this, and I'm going to call them soulmates, but I'm not talking about this, forlorn
Oh,
love.
dear God, don't get me started. Okay.
I'm talking soulmates. These are the people that you come back, reincarnate in groups over and over and over. It's part of your soul tribe.
Right.
And they all play different pieces, different characters in the play for a reason, so we can get to understand maybe a different perspective.
Exactly. And one of the things I want people to understand, and one of the things I've learned about doing past lives and past life regressions, is, we always think you're looking at the life right prior to this one. That may not necessarily be true. If we actually hold to the concept, or just keep in mind that the concept exists, that what we see as past, present, future are all happening simultaneously. And we can move back and forth between the past and the future. Some of these, you might have huge gaps. It'd be like, well, wait a minute. Last time I did this life came up. How come when I did it this time, it was like either way beyond that where I couldn't have run into it, or because at that point, in that moment in time, this is what you needed to see for some clarification.
Yeah.
That's what I'm, and don't get hung up on, okay. And now I hate to tell you guys, all right, not that many people were Cleopatra, okay? A lot of people, it's amazing how many people I was asked, when was the last time somebody said, you know what? I was a janitor.
No. I was Eve. Sorry.
So keep things in mind. This is real. Okay. And if you're going to the same person that's doing a past life regression, and you're always showing up as somebody special, okay, there's another flag, okay? Because here's something I want to think about. Oh, in my past life, we can talk a little bit here about karma and karmic debt and how some of that plays. I believe at one point somebody asked, how do we know what our karmic debt is? If you were Cleopatra in a previous life, all right, and now you're struggling to make ends meet, it means you didn't learn what you needed to while you were Cleopatra. All right. So there's more lessons to learn. And sometimes we can devolve well as move ahead. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
I had a client who always had a contentious relationship with like a brother or somebody. So she did a past life regression on it. And in that past life, she went back to the caveman days.
Okay.
In that past life, they had done a community kill of whatever animal it was. And she took the credit away from the brother. All those millennia ago, right?
Yeah.
And this came out for her, and it gave her an understanding of why her brother on some level never liked her or never trusted her. And the person is like, this person is stellar. Okay. I would like hand over anything and trust her with it. Okay. She's learned those lessons. And again, that was caveman days, but that was kind of trippy to go back to the caveman days.
Oh, I'll bet.
And trying to figure out and this and that. And so, and again, the practitioner doesn't ask the leading questions. There's certain questions I will ask, but they're not leading.
Right.
And I can't say what they are because I don't want to give anybody some presupposition of whatever. So,
right.
But anyways, that was an example of, it wasn't like, in the 1700s or 1800s. This is way back when.
Right. And that's what, do you mind if I give them an example of a leading question so they can be aware of it?
Yeah.
If you've watched Bull, if you've watched Perry Mason, if you've watched any of these things, think about when an attorney approaches the witness and says, and did you see him kill that person? That's a leading question. Okay. We're planting an idea to solicit an answer, either a yes or a no, either way, because either attorney would be called down for it. So when somebody's soliciting and they give you a little push in that direction, you should be finding this. They're there, like I said, like Rebecca was for me, like Lori doesn't know it yet, but like she's going to do for me, okay? And they're there as a guide, okay, to help you when you have the question or to help you understand or feel safe. So in that, the other thing is, when we talk hypnosis, I need people to understand anybody can hypnotize, okay? It's really not that hard, but you have to be careful. You have to study, and I need you to know you really do need to understand somebody where they're coming from. Like Laura asked, questions, things like this, because once you open a door on somebody else, all right, one of the ethical rules is you never leave a door open. Once you open something up with somebody, you close that door.
Absolutely.
So one of the first things I would say if you're going into hypnosis is I would ask my hypnotist, do you have a client right after me? Well, yes, I do. Then we'll wait. Okay.
Yeah.
Because
I don't have anybody after, period. It's
when I do my readings, my tarot readings or whatnot, I generally don't stack them up back to back because I don't know what's going to open and I may need time to close. And this comes in with past lives. So be an advised consumer. Do you have anybody right after me? What's going to happen if this runs over? If we get into something, where are we at? Well, then I'll just have to cut it short because I do have another client. Don't ever go back. Okay.
I agree with that, by the way. Even when I do regular sessions, I book an hour between, because if I'm dealing with removing reptilians from whatever, I can't say, oh, time's up. So
right.
I literally, I'm like, sorry, you're up. I can't be a therapist. Okay.
Yeah.
I have an hour buffer, which means we get to go over, and it gives me time to reset, clean, and clear to make sure that I'm not going to cross contaminate. So when I do a past life regression, that's my only thing I do that day, because I will spend 4 to 5 hours with you. If I know you, not as much time because I know you, but it's usually about 4 hours is average for me, because there's a lot to go through and a lot to process. And Donna's got a really good question here.
Yes, she does.
Okay.
Go right ahead.
Yes, it does make sense, Donna. And here's the deal. During World War II, a lot of people left en masse. All right. And they came back quickly. And these people are also the people that opposed the Vietnam War and stuff like that, because these people died in a war and they come back with that muscle memory. And this is where the hippies are, no war, and I get that. So yes. And so an average reincarnation cycle is usually about 150 years between lifetimes. However, during this particular time, people were coming back 5-10 years. And so there's reasons for it. They had unfinished business in that lifetime. It was taken away from them, or whatever those things could be. So it does make sense. But normally you're looking at about 150 years between lifetimes, because folks, we need a break before we come back here.
Exactly. Just like the process to do whatever things that are going on. So, and I brought these up just to validate Laura's point. And this is one of the things. So we talk about the American Civil War. So I didn't even go back to the, the American Revolution. And I hate a term called Civil War because war is not civil. All right. 1861 to 1865. All right. Now, World War I, 1917 is when that war began. So let's just take a look. How many thousands of people died in the first war? Now we've got World War I, where we now know through history and whatnot that from 1917 through 1918, only a year, there were literally millions of people died, especially Russians and Czechoslovakians. Okay. Check that if I'm remembering my world history right. So it only goes from 1918 into 1941, basically 30 years, 25 years, and we're at it again for years with hundreds of thousands of people dying. These are souls that are being turned over. And as y'all have heard, Laura and I talk about before, a soul that is snatched from its body, unaware, not knowing what's happening, things like that, they may not even know they've died. So they may be trapped until something sends them back. They find the light, somebody brings them back, or they find their way back to God's spirit. Okay. Am I making sense, Laura?
Absolutely. And a lot of times, so ideally when we die, we cross over. But if we die and we're full of fear, we miss the memo, there's all kinds of reasons why people don't cross over. The dark side can, in fact, take those souls, soul nap those souls, and even reincarnate those souls. It doesn't mean the person was a bad person. It's no different than, a 5-year-old getting snatched off the street in broad daylight. It doesn't mean the 5-year-old was a bad 5-year-old.
Right.
Bad things happen to good people all the time. But there is this, especially after World War II, there's a lot of people that came back quickly. And I think there was a sense of outrage from them in those other realms to fix the problem of war, etc. And without getting too deep into those world wars, they were extraterrestrial in nature. That's how they started. That was not necessarily humanity. But on a little side note, do you know Hitler won his presidency by 1 vote?
I knew it was very close. One
person changed the shape of the world, right?
Yeah.
So anyways, it does make sense, Donna. And especially, how do we know about past lives? Look at what you have an affinity for. Do you have an affinity for those elements of the 1940s? Does it have a sense of nostalgia? Did you happen to pick up the Spanish language in a heartbeat? How did that happen? So those are muscle memories, right? Do you like Italian art? Do you like this? Do you like that? Or does something repulse you? Okay. That's another one. Mushrooms repulse me. I can't
really?
stand them. I was in a Chinese village. My village was burnt. I was one of 2 survivors, and I had to forage, and I ate mushrooms until I died. I can't stand them to this day.
Well, then that might be me and broccoli. Nope, not doing broccoli. Not doing broccoli.
There you go. So, look at those things and, what is it you really like or really don't like? And that includes people, by the way. We got the love at first sight and we got hate at first sight too, right?
Hey, he gives me the creeps. She gives me the creeps. There's some weird vibe. There's a reason that vibe exists. And that leads into your intuition. And I want y'all to think now, just for a minute, you can do some of this stuff, but one of the first things you can do it on your own is by learning to be mindful and be in the moment and stop outside thought. Okay. Say your prayers, put a bubble around you. Y'all have heard me build a construct. You've heard me build the white room. I put angels around it, things like that. Some of you have done private sessions. We've gone into a construct and I have you open a door into another world. All right. You can do this. All right. But you need to set parameters around it. And I just want you to think, if you open the door, don't even go out the door. What world appears before you? And then a lot of times you can get a hint of where you've been, where you were, where you're going, what you've done, things like that. Because I am still a big proponent that when we say past lives, we still have to deal with the, time jumps, time warps. That we're going to find out one day, time plays a much larger role in all of this than what we believe, because time is a human construct, so it's a human thing to make sense of, the first caveman going, hey, baby, what time am I meeting you at your cave? So he had to do something when she said, yeah, well, I got to kill a lion. and make dinner. And then you can, okay, that'll be when the sun goes down. Let's just call that sunset. All right. So it's y'all, some of y'all are going like, Jesus, Rob, give me a break. A lot of concepts start in just that simple of a fashion. How can we make sure that we're meeting at the right time?
There's 2 really good books. One is Brian Weiss, Many Lives, Many Masters. It kind of explains his journey and what he does. The other one is Denise Lynn, Past Lives and 2 other words. You can find them on Amazon, Denise Lynn. So those are really some good books to kind of get a start, because knowledge is power.
Yeah.
And just kind of like figure out what you naturally like or don't like. And that kind of gives you some clues to get you started. And you never know. And then people start to question, am I making this up? Well, maybe. I don't know. But it's worth the investigation. I actually was working with a client last week. And I think it was last week, Friday, actually. And I asked her if I could use this story because it was crazy. She called me up. She had some severe kidney pain, and she didn't know why. And the doctors are like, oh, you're fine, nothing wrong. So she calls me up and says, we're fine. And I'm like, I'm picking up some things. Okay. But I don't say anything, but I always write stuff down. Okay. Because, and then I'll say, look, because I don't want to lead the witness. And so, but what I am seeing starts to unfold for her. And this is not a typical regression. Basically, she was a Chinese medicine man way back when.
Okay.
Very effective. And in that lifetime, the emperor, whomever, brought his only son for this person to heal, and that son died. Guess what happened to the village, right?
Oh, okay.
And they caged up my client and beat my client, made my client watch all the people die. It was horrific, whatever. Caged him up and started beating him, especially in the kidney area.
Okay.
These kidneys were inflamed, and she had 6 months prior. And the other word came to mind was the word matcha. I'm like, I really don't like matcha very much. I'll be honest with you. It tastes like dirt, but some people love it. My kids love it. I'm like, matcha, okay, whatever. And then she starts talking about how 6 months ago she drank matcha. Every day she's become obsessed about matcha. Well, matcha tea is a detoxer. Detoxes the kidneys. And I always thought it was of Japanese origin, but it's of Chinese origin, and it fit her timeline. So she started drinking matcha, and I think her kidneys were detoxing too fast, too quickly.
Okay.
But it brought in her spiritual team saying, hey, you know what? You might want to go back to that herbal medicine stuff and start learning some things.
Right.
It was them knocking on the door for her. So anyways, it was a very fascinating past life, one that neither of us could make up. And it made sense to her, everything she has always felt an affinity for. And in that lifetime, her current life mom,
right,
was his wife.
Okay.
So my client's female, the past life was male, and the mom was the wife. So you never know how it unfolds.
You don't. And there's a reason in this life we're not supposed to have all these details. You're like, well, if I'm supposed to learn something, why wouldn't they let me remember it? Because that's the point. It needs to become part of your nature. Okay. You may have mastered certain parts. All right. And what's funny is I just pulled some cards. If you don't mind, I'd like to show them here in a minute. But what you're talking about comes right along what the cards I just pulled. You need to understand, all right, that we're here, our nature, our soul is here to learn. So how do we remember things? Through our mind. So what becomes when we say, oh, he's just got a good nature. He's got a good heart. He's got it. Well, is that the mind? It's not the heartbeat, but that's that nature. So I do think we're here. So when we get back and we've left the physical body, our soul remembers lessons learned. Compassion. Oh, there can be too much compassion. There are times I need to, to be strong and be an aggressor a little bit. to be a good leader, to be a good ruler. There are times I've set boundaries. And you know, do you mind if I show these cards real quick? Because this is really cool. Because while you were talking, the question I asked was, what's the basics somebody needs to know about learning about their past lives and the past life regression? And the first card I got is the 7 of Fire. Now we have a unicorn, so a mystical creature. Notice we have all of these like fireflies, fire butterflies. So all of this is coming, but the 7 of Fire is 7 of Wands, talks about knowing who you are deep down inside, standing your ground and realizing who you are at this moment and understanding what brought you to who you are to be. Then I got the Magician. This is a major arcana card that says you have to remember everything about this existence, this life, what we're trying to do is all on you. Accept responsibility for it. Well, Rob, somebody did something horrible to me. That's right. They did. Okay. Not taking away what they did, but how you choose to deal with it, okay, is on you. All right. So it is your job in the here and now to start to learn and to manage and realize you are a creator. Then we have the Messenger, which this would be the Knight of Water, emotional. All right. You cannot allow your emotions to drive your life. We need to remember them. All right. And we need to understand that we need to be strong and our emotions play a role, but we cannot allow them to overdrive anything. And we need to look to our own future. Don't get so caught up in looking into past. We forget the future is what's important, because you honestly don't know if when you die, if you're going back, once you go to God's source, you don't know where you're going to show up on the timeline again. So that the past could be your future. Okay. So that's why this is important, is so, yes, you can know, you can learn, but at the same point, don't get if you get too hung up in the past, you're creating another problem for yourself. So, I mean, that's what I got out of that real fast.
Absolutely. And, you know, our emotions are what we're here to master, right? And it's okay to be angry. It's okay to, you know, but it's not okay to dismiss the emotions. It's not okay to let the emotions rule us either. So we have to find that balance. I was actually working with a client today, and the comment was, you know, when we're activating our emotions, we think it's us. So what is activating your emotions? Is it an external factor or an internal factor? And if so, which one is it and why?
And you know what? That brings, and this question just came to me. All right. Certain people have very strong emotions, and some of them sitting there going, why does that piss them off so much? Why are they so into that? All right. I'm going to posit a question. I don't think I've ever asked this even of myself. We're going to have to talk about it, research it. In a past life, you die or were snatched suddenly or something, and you never got to express emotions over a previous incident. You kept things bottled up inside. Where does our soul and our spirit take that? And can that stuff remanifest in this life?
Absolutely. So when we don't learn the lessons, they get presented to us in a different manner. It happens within lifetimes. I've had past life regressions that were actually current life issues. And we went to when they were a child or whatever. I mean, so if we don't master these things, these elements, we get presented the same lesson with a different flavor. I call it getting hit over the head by a cosmic 2x4.
Okay.
All right. I get hit all the time. Okay. I'm not going to be not lying here. I'm not, you know, but
when we first started talking, you helped me through one, remember?
okay.
And that's when I heard that, a cosmic 2x4. I'm like, oh, I'm going to use that.
Yeah. So, we're here to learn these lessons. And if we don't learn them, we get them presented to us in a different manner. I can't tell you how many people have said, oh, this is my last lifetime on earth. And I'm like, really? Says who? Right? We don't know. Um,
Right.
and some people are here to be of service. They may not need to be on this earth plane, but they chose to be here because of their love for humanity and they're wanting to help humanity. I mean, so there's all kinds of theme and variation as to why we're here. But if you grew up, part of a past life regression can be looking at negative family patterns. And the hardest thing we can do is learn how to break a negative family pattern. The most common negative family patterns are usually that of abuse, child abuse, emotional abuse, sexual abuse, physical abuse. Those are the most common. And if you can break your family pattern, you've really changed the history and the soul evolution of your family line. So take it with a grain of salt and be flexible. And I'm liking DW's question here.
I love it.
Is it forced on us? I'll tell you what, it can be, and it may not be. If
It's a definite maybe.
Yeah.
There are things, but it's a great question. We're going to answer it for you and why we're saying that.
The dark side will force reincarnation upon us. Okay. They will throw us right back in without the soul healing and soul restoration that we get from the higher realms, heavens. They will own our soul, but we still have the ability to break free. Reincarnation it's intricate. So when we're in those other realms, we're saying on earth, I'm never coming back. I hate this place, blah, blah, blah. I mean, there's a few of us saying that. Okay.
Right.
And that's fine. But when you die and you cross over and you're learning these lessons with the ascended masters, etc., you're probably going to change your tune. When we die, we don't sit on the cloud and play the harp forever. That's just stupid. So
Damn,
I know, right?
I wanted those harp lessons.
I wanted a vacation life. Okay.
I wanted to sit on a cloud and do a little Skinner,
You know, it is not forced upon us. And we reincarnate in our soul groups and our family groups. And we've got our personal karma. We've got our family karma. We even have karma by locations. We have karma by nations. It's so intricate and it's not easy to understand. But it's very much intricate. So if we're looking at a group karmic situation, why did an airplane go down with this group of people? There's some kind of group karma that's being worked out. We don't know the answers. It's more of a cosmic answer, Akashic record, higher realm kind of information. So we don't know. Did we all die in this airplane because our loved ones, I love Michael Newton, because our loved ones needed to learn how to live life without us? That's a possibility.
Codependency. If somebody around you is becoming too dependent on you for your sake and their sake, you might be removed from the picture prematurely.
Yep, absolutely. Okay. And we never know. I remember I had a girlfriend whose husband died of a heart attack, 3 little kids. The youngest one was a baby, 35 years old. What the heck, right? And the dad still lived in the house as a ghost. It was so heartbreaking. And I had to explain to her like 2 years later, I'm like, look, this is not good for you guys. It's not good for your kids. It's not good for you to have him as a ghost energy in the house. They had basically put tethers on the dad because they didn't want to let him go. Right. And also he didn't want to go. But we don't know why he was leaving at that moment in time. So we crossed him over, and believe it or not, the kids stopped getting sick. The grief waves became less intense because that energy wasn't there so much. It doesn't mean that the love between them dies or disappears. It's an eternal thing. Right. So maybe, in this lifetime, they had to figure life out as a family without him and what that looked like.
Exactly. And DW, one of the things I want to talk about when we talk about reincarnation, we have to remember that this is an ancient concept. Okay. And Hindi, a lot of those Eastern religions believe in it, but they believed it in the concept of when you die, you came back as something either lesser or greater. You've worked up, you learned your lessons in this, and you were working up to being a great person, working towards being the Buddha, working towards, all of this. So, but what I want to be careful of is when somebody dies, like Laura was just saying, and I've said all along, these people need to go back to God's source. All right. They can remain at God's source as long as they want to, or three things. They want to come back, okay, because they've been given another lesson to learn. B, they need to come back because somebody has given them a task to complete. C, they're the missing link for something that's happening here, and they're staying prolonged, and they have to come back to learn to be able to be more pure at God's source. Did I say that right, Laura?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm with you, DW. It's don't want to come back, right? I'm with you. And hopefully, right now on this planet, it's probably the hardest time to ever be a human right now.
Right.
History of this planet, other than Lemuria and Atlantis and those things, but within a couple millennia. At the same time, we have to. I've totally lost my thought. We're talking about the millennias and coming back, but right now things are changing and evolving so fast and so quickly. A lot of karma is getting cleaned up on this planet. A lot of us are taking charge to clean and clear things, to remove what's not for the greater good. Absolutely. So now is a hard time to live, but it's an exciting time to live at the same time.
Exactly. And Renee, good to see you. Bangarang, welcome. I've had many spontaneous past parallel life regressions, and I believe this. And again, you have to be open to them. They come up when you need that information. And the one that if you go back and watch the beginning of the show, when I talked about one of my regressions that was unsolicited, okay, came about because I was going through a point in my life of where this all, it was a whole huge thing, okay? And I needed to know, okay, this is why I do certain things a certain way. This is why I can be very stubborn. I know, everybody, don't panic. That's hard to understand, that I would be stubborn. My wife is like banging. Yeah, not me, but okay, when you start seeing some of these makeups, all right. Oh, and DW, one of the other things is, and we've talked about it in other shows, sometimes we come back because of a karmic debt. Okay. And we'll do another show more. We talked about karmic debts and one of the ones previously. You can go back and take a look at it. All right. But there's so much at play in this life, and we have to remember there's so much about energy and how energy can be reshaped, reformed, redone. That's us, So yeah, that's hard to do. So there is somebody says, yeah, this is exactly why. Okay. Thank you for your opinion. I will tell you, I believe why, but I will tell you also, that's a very big picture to pour a little bit of opinion out of. Okay. So that's kind of where I'm at,
And there are, Renee's talking about parallel life regressions. There are some people who live in several lifetimes at the same lifetime. Time is not a linear construct. And so I actually worked with somebody a couple weeks ago where she was in a different timeline. Her subconscious was in a different timeline than her current self was. And it was an interesting extraction move to take the subconscious out of this other timeline to bring it back to the proper timeline. It gets kind of trippy sometimes. And sometimes
it does. It really does. If we want to have a good time, we'll all sit around, get a little stoned. I'm only kidding. Okay. And then really talk about it. And then we can solve all the problems, just have the Twinkies nearby. It's one of those things. But no, you're absolutely right. Because again, now we're talking about time as a dimension, moving through dimensions, different things are overlapping, different things are overlapping. Is that even a word? Overlapping. But
Parallel dimension talk. I'm kidding.
yeah, y'all know I get excited when I start going, but yeah, no, that's very true. So with that being said, I want to lead up to next week. Okay. I want to talk more about this, but next week, all right. And you asked the question and I said it. I want to talk about Bigfoot, Sasquatch,
all right,
aliens, which is going to lead into dimensional talk and things like that. All right. If that's okay with you. And guys, again, in the comments, drop down there. Tell us, reach out to Laura and I. You have our information. Tell us about a topic you'd like to hear us talk about. Okay. If there's questions we can answer, please let us know. We'd love to do that for you. Okay. Miss Laura, you got anything else you want to add on to this?
No, this was a great conversation. I think there's so much curiosity about past lives. And there's so much technology and the way we share information that we get to have these conversations now that we didn't get to have even 5 years ago. I mean, 5 years ago, I was like this freakazoid Fruit Loop, okay, with the stuff that I do. But it's real, and more people are starting to open up and awaken to this, and past lives are no different. And when we're having a problem, maybe it's a financial issue over and over, or I keep dating my father over and over and over. Why is that? Or my boss, I always have the same boss. Why is that? Absolutely. So, and DW with you, there's a lot of people out there who were in World War II. Absolutely. So, and we're here to fix things this time.
Yeah,
Best
exactly.
As we, yeah.
And folks, what I want you to, and Laura just touched on something, and I'll end my thing with this. All right. When we talk about we're here to fix something, remember your past life began yesterday, 10 minutes ago, 5 minutes ago. There is nothing in your life, because when I go back to my early 20s, when I was so angry, late teens, early 20s, and was doing things and would be so, man, somebody wanted to fight, I was there. I loved it. It made my heart happy. Now, looking back, I know why. Okay. And I'm able to cope with it and deal with it and look at things from a different nature. But I know why every now and then that little nature will pop up when I'm in a certain mood. Okay. And so my wife will just, the earth angel that she is, will reach over, put her hand on my arm. And I remember I'm in the presence of grace. Okay. Or whatnot. So remember that you can change I don't care how old you are. All right. This hasn't always been my path. I went through a lot of crap and a lot of wild stuff to get to where I'm at today. And at any given time, you can change this life. What are you willing to do? Okay. And it sounds easy. Oh, it's not. You got to shuck off a lot of old brainwashed thoughts and habits and things we just
beliefs, right? That pre-programmed
are.
We have a whole show on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. All right. So next week, though, we're going to do. I've been dying to do a show on this.
All right, we're gonna have fun with that. All right.
We'll do that. And then I came in late. I hate to rewatch that. I have to rewatch. Yes, thank you. Yes, Monica, you'll love the show. It was a great show. So, with all that being said, I'm going to say what I say all the time. Everybody, Laura's book down in the description. My stuff down in the description. But most importantly, everybody hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and share. I don't care if you're on Laura's channel or my channel. Doesn't matter. We're all in this together. All right. But remember, take what you want. Leave what you don't. But leave having experienced a little peace, love, and light. Bang around.